Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alrighty, so today I'm going to be smoking and reviewing the Newport EXP Max non-menthol cigarettes, which are one of the newest additions to Newport's lineup, having been introduced specifically in California in early 2023 due to California's ban on menthol cigarettes. And for just about the last year now, as of the recording of this video, these cigarettes have only been sold in California and other states that have menthol bans. However, I was able to find a pack of these in my state very recently. And when I saw them on the shelf, I was a little bit confused. And so I asked the cashier, just to make sure they were actually what I thought they were. I was like, yo, are those the new non-menthol Newports that are like from California? And he was like, yeah, we got them in like a week ago and we're selling them here now. And I was like, what? That doesn't make much sense because my state doesn't have any plans to introduce a menthol ban or anything like that kind of thing. My state's a massive tobacco grower. Why would they want to go up against big tobacco? And then I remembered. The federal government is also looking at introducing a menthol ban on cigarettes. And so I do suppose now RJ Reynolds is introducing all of their new non-menthol varieties that they initially introduced into California into every other state as well, just to make sure that just in case the worst comes to be, just in case the federal government does actually push through a menthol ban, that Newport stays successful. And honestly, if I was them, I would do the exact same thing. Now, these are much more interesting cigarettes than not, though, besides the fact that they are a new non-menthol Newport. Although the fact that these are non-menthol has to do with why they're so interesting. The Newport EXP line as a whole, though, is an entirely new line of Newports that only contains non-menthol cigarettes. There are two cigarettes in the new EXP line. There's the Newport EXP Max, which is the more full-flavored of the two cigarettes, and then there's another Newport EXP, which is a lighter variety of the EXP Max. And both the Newport EXP Max and its lighter counterpart have no menthol. However, they do still contain a cooling agent, which is a little bit odd if I do say so myself. There's no menthol, but there's still a cooling agent. How is that supposed to work? From what I've heard, these cigarettes right here contain a cooling agent called WS-3, which is a tasteless food-grade cooling agent that when used in cigarettes can still cool and soothe the throat. Pretty interesting stuff, that is for sure. Now, from what I know, at least, I have never, ever tried a cigarette that has WS-3 in it. I don't believe I've ever tried a cigarette in general that contains a cooling agent besides menthol, whether it be synthetic or natural. And so as such, I certainly am looking forward to seeing just how big or how small of an effect the WS-3 cooling agent actually has on these cigarettes right here. And I certainly am very excited to just see how these new Newports actually are. And I certainly am very excited to let you guys know what I think of these as well. Now, Newport as a brand has been around since 1957, if I am remembering correctly. However, the brand was by no means an immediate success, and it took some time for it to grow into a, I'd have to say, legitimately successful brand. In the late 1960s, Newport started repositioning itself in the market and everything like that kind of thing, and started marketing itself in a different way, and that different way panned out insanely well for Newport. And by the early to mid 1990s, Newport was, and still actually is, the biggest menthol brand in the United States. And today, Newport is the second largest cigarette brand in the United States as a whole, which is pretty wild if I do say so myself. Now, Newport was originally introduced in 1957 by Lorillard, but these days, RJ Reynolds is the producer of Newport because RJ Reynolds bought Lorillard and Newport in 2015 for a very large sum of money. And, well, as said, Newport today is, I would have to say at least, bigger and better than ever before. That's what Newport is as a brand, and I think I've already given a sufficient explanation of what these cigarettes are as well. So I do suppose I should probably now go ahead and hop into my expectations for the new Newport EXP Max non-menthol cigarettes. And my expectations are both very simple and a little bit complex. I do suppose my expectations are at least taste-wise, less of an expectation and more of a guess, I do suppose is what I'm trying to say, because I really don't know what to expect from these new cigarettes right here. But nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and go over my expectations, starting off with taste. So what am I expecting taste-wise from the new Newport EXP Max non-menthol cigarettes? Well, I'm thinking the main taste I'm going to get from them is going to be a more sour taste than not like a sour tangy taste, just like a sour tobacco taste with a hint of sweetness as an undertone and maybe a little bit of a sort of chemical or additive taste or something like that kind of thing as well. And then as I'm inhaling, I'm definitely expecting a sort of cool undertone, not a rough undertone at all, definitely like a cool undertone to the taste from the WS-3. That is more so than not what I'm expecting taste-wise from these cigarettes right here, but it would not surprise me in the least if I am completely and utterly wrong. However, I have more faith in my other expectations than taste-wise because I do know that these are a full-flavored cigarette. And so as such, I am expecting these to have a pretty large body, if I do say so myself. These are a full-flavored cigarette that is a king-size cigarette. And so I'm thinking that the body, the density of the smoke is going to be pretty big if I had to guess. And I'm thinking that I'm going to get a lot of smoke on every puff. I'm thinking airflow-wise, the airflow is probably going to be perfectly fine. This is not a super heavy pack of cigarettes by any means, and if I had to guess, based on my previous experience with Newports, these cigarettes are probably not going to be super tightly packed by any means, and if anything, they might actually need a good packing, but I'm not going to pack them in today's video just simply because I don't like to pack my cigarettes when I'm giving them a review. I like to smoke them as the manufacturer intended. But if these do need a pack, I'll give them a pack after this video. But I'm thinking the airflow is going to be perfectly fine. I'm thinking the draw is probably going to be just about perfect, a little bit light but a little bit heavy at the same time kind of thing, both due to the airflow and due to my guess that there's going to be a line of perforation on the filter that is going to make the draw both a little bit more airy and a little bit heavier at the same time. I'm thinking the draw is probably going to be about perfect if I had to guess. And I'm thinking roughness is smoothness-wise, these cigarettes are probably going to be right under your typical full-flavored cigarette at about a 6 out of 10. Not much smoother than a normal tobacco full-flavored cigarette, but just a little bit smoother due to that cooling agent, I'm thinking at least, but it would not surprise me in the least if I'm wrong. And then strength-wise, I'm thinking, I mean, like, these are very much a full-flavored cigarette, but the packaging is very much black and everything like that. And when you see black packaging, it makes me think at least that this is going to be a little bit heavier than not. And so I'm thinking that this is not only going to be a full-flavored cigarette, but might actually be a little bit heavier than your standard Newport. I don't know that for sure. I very well might be wrong in all honesty, but that's just my personal guess. And I'm thinking that the strength of these cigarettes is going to be right around an 8 out of 10, with your standard full-flavored being right around a 6 or a 7 out of 10. That's my guess at least. And those are pretty much my expectations for this new pack of Newports right here. I do suppose, without further ado, now it is time for me to go ahead and go over the packaging of, well, the Newport EXP Max non-menthol cigarettes. After going over the packaging, I'm going to go ahead and get the cellophane all off. I'm going to go and let you guys know what the quality of the packaging is actually like. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get the pack of cigarettes all opened up. I'm going to go ahead and get one of the cigarettes all out. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know what the cigarettes actually look like, what they feel like, and what the quality of them is like. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get one of these cigarettes right here all lit up. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know how these cigarettes actually are. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my final thoughts on these cigarettes. And I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my rating for this pack of cigarettes as well. But first off, as said, we got to start with the packaging, which is definitely a different look from your standard Newport, that is for sure. Most certainly a different look. They're definitely trying to differentiate themselves from the standard Newport Classic line of cigarettes, while still, I'd have to say, looking like a Newport. This definitely does still come off much more like a Newport than not, that is for sure. And there are a lot of aspects to this packaging which are very Newport-esque. Of course, like the lines on the front, very Newport-esque, that is for sure. The Newport swoosh right here, very Newport-esque. Of course, the Newport logo itself, very Newport-esque and everything like that kind of thing. And the teal and everything like that all comes off a lot more like a Newport than not. However, the packaging design as a whole is, I'd have to say, a much more modern and edgy take on Newports. And in my personal opinion, what RJ Reynolds is trying to do with this new line of Newports is introduce Newport as a brand to a new variety of people, while still letting everybody know who has been smoking Newports for years that this is still a Newport. They're trying to look edgy, they're trying to look modern, and really that's their goal kind of thing. In my personal opinion, this is quite possibly Newport's answer to the Marlboro Black Menthols. That's my personal opinion, at least. These might be the answer to the Marlboro Black Menthols, and I say that mainly just because the background of this packaging is black. But that's really all it takes to be a competitor with cigarettes, in all honesty. Just because that's just kind of how the human brain works. But, you know, if I had to guess, these are meant to appeal to a younger, more edgy crowd or something like that kind of thing. That's my personal opinion. And they're meant to compete with very much the same crowd as the Marlboro Black Menthols, if I had to guess. That's what these are supposed to be. And functionality-wise, I think this packaging does a pretty good job. It looks like a pack of Newports. It doesn't look bad, and I'd have to say it is much more distinct than not from a distance. However, aesthetics-wise, I'm not really the biggest fan of it. It comes off, while I do like, I will admit, I am a really big fan of cigarette packs with black backgrounds like this pack has. I really do like that. I just don't really like the modern take on the Newport look as a whole. I prefer the Newport classic look. I will admit the look of the classic Newports much more than this packaging. I will admit, aesthetics-wise, I'm not really the biggest fan of this packaging, but I do think functionality-wise, this is pretty good, and I do think that it's going to sell for that reason, but the packaging is just really not all that much to my personal preference, looks-wise, I will admit. Excuse me. That's kind of my summary of kind of my thoughts on this packaging. I don't think it's bad packaging by any means. I think the functionality of it's really good. I just don't really like the look of this packaging as a whole. It's too modern for my personal take. A little bit too gimmicky kind of thing, but it's not bad by any means. But I haven't even covered any of the details of the packaging yet. So now I need to go ahead and do just that. First off, though, I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of a sip of water. And I will admit that sip of water was absolutely scrum-diddly-umptious. I don't think I've ever said that on video before, but I was like, it would be funny if I said that the water is not only scrumptious, but it's also just scrum-diddly-umptious. So I was like, I gotta say that. And so that's exactly what I did. And I'm hoping that these cigarettes are scrum-diddly-umptious as well, I will admit. I will admit. But let's go ahead and start covering the actual details of the packaging itself. We can see the background itself is very much, well, black, of course, but it's not like the deepest black in the world. And that is because there are some areas of the packaging that actually have a deeper black. This area right here is a much deeper black than this area right here. This is a little bit of a lighter black, I definitely have to say, than this area right here. It's not the deepest black in the world, but it is black nonetheless, which is quite interesting. We can see, though, disappointingly, that there is a little bit of a cover-up on the top of the packaging right here, which is a little bit of a shame, just simply because I can't actually see what it says under it. I know it says Newport because the Newport logo is very much embossed, but I can't actually see the design below this cover up right here that is in the cellophane itself. But once I get the cellophane off, we're going to have to take a look at what this is actually covering up and everything like that kind of thing. But we can see that the background is black, and I assume it goes all the way up to here as well and everything like that kind of thing, if I had to guess at least. We can see on the background, though, I'm getting more jumbled up. Where do I want to start with this packaging? I'm talking about the background right now. I'll just continue talking about the background. I'm getting my words all jumbled up. I'm like moving up the packaging, and then I'm starting to talk about this right here, and then I'm like, wait a minute, no, I'm trying to talk about the background right now. I'm getting my words all jumbled up, I will admit. Okay, let's just continue talking about the background, I do suppose. But we can see that the background is very much a sort of, not super deep black, I definitely have to say. And then we can see there is a very, very, very large Newport swoosh going all the way across right here and all the way down and then over just like that. And we can see that Newport swoosh has a bunch of horizontal lines on it, just like your classic Newport packaging. And this swoosh has actual texture to it as well. The really, really, really sort of deep black areas with the lines in between. The deep black areas are recessed and the lines are just at the normal level of the rest of the packaging kind of thing. So it actually has a very nice ridged texture to it, which is quite interesting if I do say so myself. Definitely a very modern, different look, but still with some aspects of the classic Newport packaging, that is for sure. Above that, on the foreground, we can see there is a Newport swoosh right here, and we can see that's all in teal, and that does overlay just a little bit over the really big swoosh right here. And this is a little bit embossed as well. The edges in specific are embossed. I do not believe the rest of the swoosh are embossed, but we can literally see that embossment on the actual camera itself and everything like that kind of thing. That's just how embossed this swoosh is. There's no sort of I'd have to say, what's the right way of putting it? There's no sort of drop shadow or anything like that kind of thing. It's just the swoosh right there, just the teal swoosh, just like looking like the normal Newport color and everything like that kind of thing, with really not too much else going on, I will admit. But this is just meant to emphasize that, of course, this is a Newport cigarette, along with this right here as well. I think I'm going to cover the top of the packaging last, so let's go ahead and cover the last detail on the bottom of the packaging. We can see there's some text right here that interrupts the swoosh right here and everything like that. And I think we can see that's all in the same teal as the top of the packaging, as the what's the right way of putting it? As the swoosh right here. I'm getting my words all jumbled up when it comes to this packaging, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I'm getting my words all jumbled up. The cover up right here has definitely messed with my train of thought, because normally when I'm covering packaging, I cover like the top and the logo first and everything like that kind of thing, and then I cover the background, and then I cover everything below that. But this, I can't really cover the top first because it's being covered up. I do suppose I still could, but I didn't. That was a mistake, I will admit. But we can just see in teal, just like this swoosh right here, it just says bold and flavorful. And then there's a dot, and then it just says non-menthol right there. So this is supposed to be a bold and flavorful non-menthol cigarette, according to that text at least. That text is all in teal, and it does not have a drop shadow or any sort of background or anything like that kind of thing. It's just on that black background. And yeah, doesn't look bad per se or anything like that kind of thing. And now let's go ahead and move on to the top of the packaging, which is what I really should have started with, in all honesty. We can see the top of the packaging is, of course, covered up with this little bit of cover up on the inside of the cellophane, or on the exterior of the cellophane. I'm not exactly sure which, I will admit, but it's covered up by the cellophane nonetheless. There's a little bit of a design on the cellophane covering it all up. We can just see it just says Newport right there in the same teal that the swoosh is in, and in the same teal that the text down here is in. Then under the classic Newport logo right here that has no sort of drop shadow, no sort of shading or anything like that kind of thing, we could just see in teal once again, it just says EXP right there. Then above the Newport logo itself, it just says non-menthol right there in white. And then above that, we can see there's a little bit of a border going all the way around the packaging, and there's a little bit of a dip down right here in the border, and it just says in black on that teal background. I definitely have to say, it just says Max right there, which is the actual variety name of this cigarette right here. And that's pretty much all there is to the front of the packaging. Definitely not a super complex look by any means, but most certainly a much more modern, edgy look than not. And while I don't mind some of the details, I don't mind the swoosh right here, I don't mind this right here, I will admit, it's just a little bit out there for my personal preference kind of thing. I prefer cigarette packaging that is a little bit more, I'd have to say, not classy, not refined, but just a little bit more, not low-key. I don't know. This packaging, to me at least, comes off as very... Is flamboyant the right way of putting it? I think so. This packaging comes off as very flamboyant. And I'm not really the biggest fan of this packaging, just because of how out there it really is, I will admit, aesthetics-wise. However, functionality-wise, I do very much think that the flamboyancy of this packaging is going to serve this new cigarette very well, and I do think that it's going to be very good at catching people's eyes on the shelf. The black background combined with the very, very, very bold Newport swoosh right there is going to catch people's eyes on the shelf 100%, and I can definitely see how this line of new Newports might be pretty successful in the future, just simply due to the packaging. I do think whoever designed this packaging did a pretty good job. It's very much a piece of Newport packaging, that is for sure, but it's definitely a modern take on the classic Newport look, that is for sure. But, you know, that's pretty much all there is to the front of the packaging, although I do suppose not technically, because once I get the cellophane all off, I've actually got to cover what the top of the packaging looks like once again, and actually kind of give you guys my final thoughts on the packaging after that, because I'm not really looking at the real packaging right now, am I? But let's go ahead and go take a look at the back of the packaging. We can see the back of the packaging is quite literally exactly the same as the front. Still got the text down here, still got the swoosh right here. Is that any different? It looks to be exactly the same to me. Nothing is placed a little bit differently or anything like that kind of thing. And we can just see same exact text up here. There are some white numbers down here, but I don't think that's actually meant to be a part of the design. Those numbers just read 40146067. I don't know what that means, but it means something. If you guys know what that means, let me know in the comments down below. But, you know, the back of the packaging is exactly the same as the front. Can't complain about that. There is still lots of embossment on the back of the packaging, and the ridges right here, the texture right here is still there, so I certainly can't complain. And the Newport logo itself is still embossed as well. I certainly got no complaints on my behalf, that is for sure. But that's pretty much all there is to the back of the packaging. Exact same look as the front of the packaging. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and cover this side of the packaging right here, and we can just see black background with the teal sort of ribbon going across the top. We can just see it just says in white 20 Class A cigarettes right there. And then under that, we can just see it just says, oh, I've got that upside down. Copyright RJ Reynolds Tobacco Company, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27102 USA. And then it has their contact line, which is 1-877-760-0778. And then it just says under that, www.rjrt.com. And then under that, it just says in white, please don't litter. All of the text right here is all in white. And to the side of it, we can see the barcode right here. And of course, these cigarettes are indeed FSC compliant, as has been required for all cigarettes to be in the United States since 2012. And that's pretty much all there is to this side of the packaging. Just pretty informational, no design going across. And sadly, I hate to say this, but sadly, the swoosh does not go across. The packaging on this pack of cigarettes does not wrap around in any way, shape, or form, which very much is a shame. That is one other thing that I probably should mention, is that the design does not stretch around at all. That is very much a shame. I love packaging that stretches all the way around, but sadly, the packaging on this one does not stretch around. I think it would be really cool to have this textured swoosh go all the way around and everything like that kind of thing, or maybe even to the bottom, but sadly it doesn't even go to the bottom or anything like that. It is a shame. It is a lost, what's the right way of putting this? It is a lost opportunity in my personal opinion, but it probably had something to do with making the packaging cost more, or regulatory issues or something like that kind of thing. So I really, I do understand, because if they were going to keep the design going across, they want to keep the texture going and everything like that kind of thing. And there's a warning right here and everything like that. I get it kind of thing. I get it. But it is still a shame that the design doesn't stretch all the way around the packaging. But that's more of a personal preference of mine, not really an actual issue, real issue with the packaging, I do suppose. But now that I've covered this side of the packaging, let's go and cover this side. And we can just see, once again, black background with the teal ribbon going across. And we can just see at the top, it just says in white, underage sale prohibited right there. And then we could just see it just says Surgeon General warning right there. And it just says cigarette smoke contains carbon monoxide. I love carbon monoxide, so that's not an issue to me. That's more of an advertisement than not. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. And that's all there is to this side of the packaging. Now, without further ado, let's go and cover the bottom of the packaging. We can see the color scheme. While the design itself does not stretch around, the color scheme itself does, because going to the bottom of the packaging, we can see black background once again, just says Newport Max, or Newport EXP Max right there. Pretty much just keeping the same look as the front of the packaging, but without the ribbon at the top right there. So this is just in black text on a teal, I'd have to say, background, I definitely have to say. But everything else is on a black background. So, you know, it just says Newport EXP Max right there, with Newport having a copyright symbol right there. And then we can just see there's some cigarette numbers, and those cigarette numbers just read 3CE3JJ6. I don't know what that means, I will admit, but I'm sure it means something. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the back, to the bottom of the packaging. Not too much going on, in all honesty. Basically just the bottom of the packaging that's just letting you know what this cigarette is and everything like that kind of thing. Not too much going on. Taking a look at the top of the packaging, we can see it's a little bit more interesting. I am a little bit confused with both the bottom and the top of the packaging. Why this is so heavily towards one side. It's not like centered, like it's, I get this can't be centered like because of the numbers and everything, but like it can be centered in like the vertical axis, right? Not the horizontal. Like, why is it not centered? And it's the same with the top of the packaging. The top of the packaging isn't centered as well. Like, what? Why is this not centered? I don't understand it. Do they want to, are they like thinking about putting non-menthol right there, and so they just left stuff so they didn't have to wait for the design or something? I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what the deal is, but either way, That's kind of bothering me. I ain't gonna lie. That is kind of bothering me. This is off-center vertically. I don't like that. I don't like that in all honesty. We can see, though, the color scheme on the bottom of the packaging is reversed on the top of the packaging, though, and it just says Newport EXP Max once again, all in black this time, with the Max text being in teal on a teal background. And that teal background is from this ribbon right here, which stretches all the way up to the top of the packaging. And I do like that. So technically speaking, I do suppose the design stretches around just a little bit, but not actually the details of the design stretch around, I guess is the right way of putting it. Overall, as a whole, I'm not the biggest fan of this packaging aesthetics-wise, but I do think functionality-wise, it does its job to a pretty large extent, and I think that this is probably going to sell decently well just based on its packaging. At least initially, because if people realize that these aren't actually good cigarettes, then they might not buy them. But I don't want to say that these aren't good cigarettes because I haven't tried them yet. I'm just saying, theoretically, if they're not good cigarettes, people might buy them initially because of the packaging, but after that, they might not buy them again. So I certainly am hoping that these are better cigarettes than not. But I've still got some more stuff to talk about the packaging because, come words are all jumbled up today, because the cellophane is covering up some of the details right here. So I've got to go ahead and get this off, and I've got to go ahead and let you guys know what this actually looks like. And I was kind of thinking, oh man, this looks so much better without that little cover up. Oh my God, wow, okay. This packaging looks so much better without that cover up now. Oh my God. So it actually says, it does not say non-menthol above the Newport logo right there. That looks so much better. Why did they cover it up? I mean, like, I get they want people to know that it's non-menthol, but still, this looks so much damn better without that cover up. So much better. Like insane amounts of better. Wow. Okay, yeah, this looks so much better. We can just see, of course, the top of the packaging is on that black, sort of like not super deep black background. It just says Newport right there, all in teal, all very much embossed, with the EXP text right there, also in teal. And it just says Max right there with that ribbon going all the way around the packaging. And it's the exact same on the back. And aesthetics-wise, in my personal opinion, this looks so much better without the cellophane on. I mean, like most packs of cigarettes do. But this pack of cigarettes looks even better without the cellophane on, just simply because it is no longer covering up the actual design and everything like that kind of thing. This packaging looks so much better without the cellophane on, I ain't gonna lie. It looks so much better. Oh my God, yeah. Aesthetics-wise, my opinion of this packaging has gotten a little bit better since I've taken the cellophane off, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Functionality-wise, it's still about the same kind of thing. I think from a distance, this is going to be very recognizably a Newport, but definitely a different Newport, definitely a little bit more of a new, edgy Newport. This looks like a modern, new, edgy Newport kind of thing. I think functionality-wise, this is great packaging kind of thing. And I think aesthetics-wise, it's definitely a better look than I thought it was when this cellophane was on. I should have probably just initially taken off the cellophane and just ignored what was actually on the cellophane itself, but that is what RJ Reynolds is trying to do as they're introduced, as it's a new variety, and they're trying to make sure everybody knows that it's a non-menthol and everything like that kind of thing. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the packaging. Quality-wise, the packaging itself is pretty decent kind of thing. It's not really above average nor below average. There are some little areas I can kind of grab my fingers on, but it's nothing too major kind of thing. It's pretty average quality for a hard corner box, I definitely have to say. And yeah, not bad quality by any means kind of thing. And the packaging as a whole, pretty good look without the cellophane on, if I do say so myself. Well, I do suppose without further ado, it is now time for me to go ahead and get this pack of cigarettes all opened up, and it's now time for me to go ahead and take a look at what this inside of the packaging actually looks like. We can see there is some stuff on the top of the cigarette lid right there. That's all in black text, and it just says www.newportpleasure.com, restricted to adult smokers 21 and older. Well, makes sense, you know what I'm saying? And we can see there's a little bit of a calling card right here, which I assume is, I'm just gonna kind of take that out very slowly, which I assume is an advertisement for these new cigarettes. And we can see, I'm just gonna go ahead and read over this real quick. It just says experience. Oh, EXP, experience. I was thinking EXP, like more like video game XP and stuff like that kind of thing, but no. Well, XP stands for experience. Oh God, I'm stupid. I just forgot. EXP in video games still stands for experience. I just forgot about that, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Yeah, EXP, experience. Okay, so yeah, that's a whole experience thing. So yeah, I mean, like, you can tell it's like a corporate thing kind of thing. Oh, EXP, experience kind of thing. Experience the premium non-menthol flavor from Newport. That's what it's saying right there, and it's just newportpleasure.com/EXP, and it just says copyright 2022, RJRT, 2Q PTD in USD in USA D in USA, and then it just says cigarettes right there, and there's some other numbers and everything like that kind of thing. That's what the design is on this. And then we can see the back. I'm just gonna cover this up just a little bit, and we can see the back just says, because there's a barcode, I don't know what the barcode leads to, but it just says flavor designed for tobacco pleasure, and then it just says scan for more and has a little bit of a barcode, and that barcode I do believe just goes to the Newport website, but I'm not certain about that, so I'm not going to show it because I don't want this YouTube video to get in trouble with YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and put this little card in my backpack now. It's a little bit of a collectible. Just kidding, it's not really collectible now, is it? But limited edition collectible, because that's probably not going to be in the packaging all the time now, is it? In the coming years, it's probably not going to be in the packaging anymore, kind of thing. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get this pack of cigarettes opened up once again. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the foil. We can just see the foil is sadly very simple kind of thing. It's really not all that interesting, especially when compared to the actual packaging itself, which is a very modern look. The packaging is a very modern look, but the foil itself is not at all kind of thing. Very just kind of contrasty. Definitely very uninteresting when compared to somewhat interesting kind of thing. They're just using whatever foil they have on hand. Makes sense, you know what I'm saying? They're just using whatever foil is FDA compliant, as the foil does actually have to be FDA compliant along with the cigarette itself, which is pretty amusing. Learned that quite recently. But we can just see the cigarette insert itself is all in that sort of, I'd have to say, not really, is it like a charcoal black? It's just not like a super deep black. I guess maybe charcoal-esque black, but not really. Charcoal black is the right way of putting it, I do suppose. And then we can see the foil itself is all in silver. It just says pull right there. And the foil itself has very much a foily texture in my personal opinion. Let's go ahead and pull this out now. And we can see it pulls out pretty easily, and it pulls out pretty cleanly as well. Certainly no complaints on my behalf. I'm gonna go and shove that in my backpack. Can't be littering or nothing like that after all. And now without further ado, let's go ahead and get one of the new Newport EXP Max non-menthol cigarettes all out. And let's go ahead and take a look at what the cigarette actually looks like, what it feels like, and what the quality of it is like. So first off, I'm just gonna go ahead and smell this cigarette. And the cigarette definitely does not smell like a menthol. Of course, it's not a menthol. Of course it doesn't smell like a menthol, but my nose is running a little bit, and I didn't bring a handkerchief with me today. I really need to start bringing a handkerchief on cold days like today. I feel like there's some sort of cooling thing going on in my nose, like I'm smelling it, and I feel like maybe it's just because it's cold today, because it is cold today, but I feel like there's something going on with smelling it. There's definitely some sort of cooling something in my nose. There definitely is, almost reminiscent of a menthol, in all honesty. There's still some sort of cooling thing going on when I'm inhaling the smell. The actual smell of the cigarette itself, though, is very much I'd have to say, I'm gonna smell the inside of the pack, too. I'm gonna get another one of these out. I'd have to say it is very much it's kind of that sort of like cooling sensation in my nose is kind of distracting. You can definitely tell there's something going on that is cooling in the cigarettes, but it's not menthol, that is for sure. I'd have to say the smell, because you can still smell the tobacco itself. The smell of the tobacco itself is very much slightly sweet, almost nutty, buttery sort of smell. I don't know. It's kind of hard to determine. That's kind of the smell I'm getting, but the smell is really not the most distinct coming off the cigarette. The main smell really is that sort of cooling sort of sensation, and so it's really distracting, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. But to me, at least, it very much came off like a sweeter than not, slightly nutty, slightly buttery sort of smell. And so I'm kind of thinking that's what it's gonna taste like. And if these taste like that, I'll have no complaints on my behalf, because I like that taste from cigarettes quite a bit. And yeah, so that's what the smell of this cigarette is kind of like. So let's go ahead and now cover what the look of this cigarette is like. We can see there's a cork style filter, and then under the cork style filter, it just has the Newport swoosh right there, just upside down, just like it is on the front of the packaging, and in the same teal color as well. How's that for some brand continuity? Certainly can't complain, that is for sure. I don't remember if classic Newports say Newport in text on it or if they have the swoosh. I can't remember in all honesty, but I'm pretty sure that these, with the Newport swoosh and everything like that, is unique. I don't think the classic Newports have the swoosh on them in this form. I could very well be wrong. It's been quite a while since I've had a classic Newport menthol, but I feel like this is a pretty good way of certifying that this is a Newport EXP Max. I feel like the look on it is a pretty good way of determining that this is a Newport EXP Max. That is for sure. So I certainly can't complain. Definitely not a bad look by any means, but a very, very, very simple one, if I do say so myself. Really not too much going on look-wise. Just the cork style filter with the swoosh right here, all in teal, which is very much color matched with the packaging, and then just white paper. Not really much else going on. There's only one swoosh on it, and that's all there is. Are there any lines of perforation on this cigarette? Right now, I am... there's one line. I can see one very, very, very tiny line of perforation. Absolutely tiny. Not big. It's an absolutely tiny line of perforation. There's really not much, I will admit, but there is a very, very, very small line of perforation on this cigarette. Taking a look at the blend of the tobacco is very much a medium blend in my personal opinion. There are definitely some lighter aspects, but there are also certainly some darker aspects as well. It's not quite a fully dark blend, nor quite a fully light blend, although I definitely have to say more dark than light. But that's pretty much all there is to the look of the cigarette and everything like that. Quality-wise, seems to be pretty good if I do say so myself. It's not unraveling in my hand or anything like that kind of thing by any means, as you would hope a prepackaged cigarette would not do. But you know, not too bad if I do say so myself. Not too bad if I do say so myself. Seems like as a whole, pretty decent quality. Not the most interesting look in the world, but still not a bad look, and it's definitely a look that certifies this as being an EXP, as being at least an EXP cigarette. Maybe the EXP, the lighter EXP has a white filter, and this one has the cork style to certify that it's the EXP Max. I'm not exactly sure in all honesty, but I think that's pretty much all I had to say. I think I said everything I wanted to say about the packaging, and I think I said everything I wanted to say about the look of the cigarette as a whole. It's not too bad of a look. It doesn't quite match the packaging per se kind of thing, but it's not bad by any means, I will admit. But I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of a sip of water real quick. Excuse me. And now that I have done that, I do think, now that I've said everything I want to say about the packaging, about the look of the cigarette, and about just the overview of what Newport is and about the overview of this cigarette and everything like that kind of thing, I do suppose I should probably go ahead and actually give it a smoke and see how it actually is kind of thing. So, is the Newport EXP Max cigarette going to be good or not? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out that is for sure. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get my lighter out of my pocket. And now, let's go ahead and get this cigarette right here, all lit up, and go ahead and see how the Newport EXP Max non-menthol cigarette actually is. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? And right off the bat, I don't know if it's placebo, I don't know if it's me knowing that there's a cooling agent in it, but if I had to guess, the cooling agent is definitely doing its job. You can definitely tell. I'm gonna go and grab myself a little bit of a screenshot real quick. Right off the bat, I have to say, the taste from this cigarette is not the best. I'm not a fan of the taste of this cigarette. The taste of the cigarette comes off purely chemically. I'm not a fan of the taste of the cigarette. No, not really. You can definitely tell there's a cooling agent. You can definitely tell. It's definitely in there. Actually describing what the taste is like, though, besides saying it tastes like chemicals, is kind of hard. Whoopsies, I just hit the table. So I'm just going to go ahead and real quick just test the body and talk about everything else. And then after that, I'm going to go and talk about the taste. The body itself is absolutely massive. No surprise, in all honesty. The airflow is pretty decent as a whole. And the draw is, in my personal opinion, a little bit, actually surprisingly heavy and yeah, a little bit of a heavy draw, but not super heavy. Definitely not as heavy as like an American Spirit, but definitely like not as light of a draw as like, let's say, a Marlboro Red or something like that kind of thing. Definitely a very moderate draw, not too heavy, not too light by any means kind of thing. About just a little bit heavier than your standard full-flavored cigarette, to say the least. And I'd have to say this cigarette is also burning very quickly. This is a very fast-smoking cigarette. And I'd have to say roughness and smoothness-wise, this cigarette is both rough and smooth, as I predicted, right around a 6 out of 10, as I was kind of thinking. And strength-wise, this is a much stronger cigarette than not. It definitely kicks, that is for sure. It most certainly kicks. I'd have to say it's a right around, it's a little bit stronger than your standard full-flavored. I'd have to say right around a 7 to 8 out of 10, strength-wise. Not the strongest cigarette I've ever had by any means, but still quite strong, to say the least. But what is the taste of this cigarette actually like? That's really the hard part about this cigarette, is determining what the taste is actually like, because the main overall taste is a sort of chemical additive taste, but it's not like an icky chemical additive taste. It's just chemical additive. This cigarette, I'll be frank, does not taste a lot like tobacco, but there is still a tobacco undertone in there. So the main taste is very much... The main taste is very much that sort of additive taste. It's not really a chemical taste. It's not icky, but it's very much an additive taste. The main taste is very much an additive taste. Yeah, it's very much a cool additive taste with an undertone of sweet and sour tobacco, with really not much undertone, but there is a little bit in there. I'd have to say the tobacco itself is a little bit more sweet than sour, and the tobacco itself does have sort of a slightly buttery taste to it, I'd have to say. Slightly almost like nut butter or something like that kind of thing. Not quite a nutty taste per se, but a little bit like a nut butter taste, I definitely have to say. Yeah, so the taste as a whole is sort of a chemically additive taste with an undertone of sweet and sour tobacco that has an undertone of a sort of more sweet than not, a little bit salty as well. A little more sweet than not, but a little bit salty as well. Sort of nutty butter taste. I'd have to say nut butter taste. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Like cashew butter or almond butter or something like that kind of thing. Although not that that's kind of a reach to say, in all honesty. It's more of a buttery taste than not. That's very much what the taste of this cigarette is like. I'm not a fan. I don't like additive taste. I like the pure tobacco taste personally, and this tastes like straight additive. It tastes like they're trying to make a non-menthol cigarette a menthol, and of course that is exactly what they're doing. Supposedly, WS-3, which is the cooling agent used in this cigarette, is more tasteless than not. But if the taste I'm tasting is from the WS-3, well, I'm certainly able to taste that is for sure. Although it is most certainly not as intense of a taste as menthol. Every hit I take, though, is surprising. I don't know. This is very different from what I've had before. And that was all I had to the cigarette, so I just stubbed it on the ground. Got my cigarette butt right here. I'm going to throw it away after this video. Just going to put it in the side of my backpack just so I don't forget it. But it's different. The Newport EXP Max is different. Let me put it that way, kind of thing. It's very much trying to come off like it's a menthol cigarette, but it's not a menthol cigarette. That sort of additive taste, which is very much cooling, that cooling taste, it very much has the same effect as menthol. But it's not as good as menthol. It's not. No, it's not. And you can still very much taste a chemical taste in there. And there is a little bit of an icky chemical taste. The additive taste itself, which is the main taste, excuse me, is not bad. It's not icky per se. It's just not tobacco. Excuse me, had a little bit of voice crack. Wow. It's been a while since I had a voice crack. But I am conflicted. I'm going to have to give myself a moment to think. Definitely kicks, though. These are strong. It comes off like a non-menthol cigarette trying to be a menthol. That's how it comes off, yeah. Very much comes off like that. And I do suppose I shouldn't be too surprised about the tobacco taste not being the overlying taste, because this is a non-menthol cigarette trying to come off like a menthol. That's exactly what it is. But the taste that's replacing the menthol taste is not the greatest taste in the world. Let me just put it that way, kind of thing. I'm tempted to have another one because I don't really know how to finish off this video quite yet. I don't really know. I'm tempted to have another one because I really don't know what to think about this cigarette yet. I know I'm not really the biggest fan of it, frankly put, but, and I've described the taste, but it's just like, I don't know, I'm just having trouble kind of figuring out what to say for what I want to say as my final thoughts for the cigarette. I'm really struggling because this is so different from what I've had, and it's trying so hard to be a menthol cigarette, but I think I might have another one because it's different. It's different from what I've had before, and I'm struggling to organize my thoughts. I'll be frank. I've been struggling to organize my thoughts all day, I will admit. It's been a little bit of an off day today, but I'm really struggling now. I'm going to go ahead and get another one all lit up, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can kind of summarize my final thoughts a little bit better. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? I think what's really messing me up is because I don't like this cigarette. I can say that. I'm not a fan. No, I don't like this. I'm not a fan. I'm like, I haven't heard the greatest things about the new Newport non-menthols, frankly put, but I'm definitely not a fan of this one. I don't know about the other ones, but I'm not a fan of this one, frankly put. Not a big fan. I do know that for sure. I'm gonna go grab myself a little bit of a screenshot while I kind of think just a little bit more. I'm struggling. Yeah. This is different. It's not very often I smoke 2 cigarettes in a review to kind of be able to really give my final thoughts really exactly and to kind of describe how the cigarette is exactly, but this is one of those scenarios. That's just how different this cigarette is. Alrighty though. So, the taste is very much as I described. It is very much a additive taste with an undertone of a sort of icky chemical taste, and then under that there is a sort of mildly sweet, almost nut butter sort of taste kind of thing, almost like almond butter or something, but not quite for sure. It's just almost like a sort of nut butter taste. It's a very buttery taste as a whole kind of thing, I'd have to say. Yeah. So the taste as a whole is very much that additive taste with an undertone of a sort of icky chemical taste, with an undertone under that of a sweet sort of butter taste, with a little bit of saltiness in there as well. And that's very much what the taste of the cigarette is like. But that's not all there is to the taste of the cigarette, because the WS-3 is very much cooling the smoke down. I can literally taste the smoke being cooler, kind of thing. And it's not physically cooling the smoke down, of course. It's just coming off as cooler. It's a cooling agent like menthol. And so I'm tasting this, and I'm like, it feels like there should be another taste in there. There should be menthol in there, but there's not. Yeah. This is very much a... Yeah, it's very much a... Yeah, the taste I get, and then you get the taste that I described, and then you get a cooling sensation as well. Not only in your throat. It doesn't only cool and soothe your throat, but also your mouth as a whole. It's very cool. It's very soothing. And that is an aspect of the taste that isn't really part of the actual taste you taste on your taste buds. It's more in the line of mouthfeel. And I think that's really what's messing me up. The taste is what I described, but the mouthfeel of this cigarette is very much like a menthol, but different. Very much like a menthol, very much different at the same time, though. Yeah. This cigarette is really strong, though. I'm just going to put it down for a minute. Yeah. The mouthfeel is very cool, very soothing, very velvety almost, due to the WS-3, I'd have to say. And now that I'm thinking about it, I've had this same sort of not menthol, I've had this same sort of mouthfeel from another cigarette previously, the new Cools. I'm wondering if the new Cools have WS-3 in them as well. Now, the new Cools are way better than this cigarette. This cigarette, it would actually be a decent smoke if it didn't have if the main taste wasn't that sort of chemical or like additive taste and everything like that kind of thing. But yeah, no, it's just kind of different. It's just kind of different. Yeah. The smoke has a very cool, smooth, velvety mouthfeel. That's very much what the smoke mouthfeel is. And I think that's really the right way of putting it. And it's very different from what I'm used to. And it's kind of, this experience is honestly kind of changing my perception of menthols, in all honesty. I've never really thought about the mouthfeel of menthols being different than normal cigarettes, but that's very much the case. And it's really something that this cigarette should not be a revelation for me. I do know there's different components, like especially with pipe tobaccos, which I've really been getting into pipe tobacco recently. There's different stuff you can add that to pipe tobaccos, to tobacco in general, which changes the mouthfeel. And definitely different pipe tobaccos have different mouthfeels. But this is the most distinct I've ever had, which I think is why it's kind of a shock factor for me. Yeah. Yeah. Different to say the least. And the taste, that sort of additive chemical taste kind of comes in and out. It kind of comes in and out as well. And that cooling taste has an almost menthol taste to it. It's like very like, I know what it is. It's like watered down menthol. That's what it is. It's like watered down menthol. Yeah, that's what it is. All right, I figured it out, y'all. It took 2 cigarettes to figure out, but I figured it out. Yeah, that cooling taste, it does actually have a taste. That additive taste, that chemical taste in there. The chemical taste is not so much the additive taste. The additive taste is definitely the cool taste. That additive taste, though, is an almost like watered down menthol, like 10% menthol, 90% water. Let me just put it that way kind of thing. Like if you put 10% tea and then 90% water in, that's what it tastes like. That is what it tastes like. Yeah. Okay. So, very much watered down, cool, menthol-esque taste kind of thing. But the taste does not stick in your mouth very much. But it's just the coolness and smoothness and velvetyness that sticks in your mouth. Then under that, you get sort of an icky chemical taste kind of thing. And then under that, you get the actual tobacco taste itself. Very interesting. Very interesting. Definitely different. I would not buy these again, though. No way. This cigarette's just about out. I'm going to go and step it on the ground. I'm going to go and put the cigarette butt in the side of my backpack as well. Got to make sure I'm not littering or nothing like that, of course. Got to throw that away after this video. So now I do suppose, now that I've kind of figured everything out, it's time for me to go ahead and give you guys my final thoughts on the new Newport EXP Max full-flavored cigarettes that are non-menthol. So, what are my final thoughts on this cigarette? I'm going to go and start off with the packaging. Well, my final thoughts on the packaging are as follows. I think it's pretty good function-wise. I don't really like the aesthetics of it. It's very much a modern, edgy take on the classic Newport packaging, and I'm not really the biggest fan of it aesthetics-wise, but I think from a distance, it's very recognizable kind of thing, and I think that this packaging will sell this cigarette. Let me put it that way kind of thing. But, even though the packaging is pretty good functionality-wise, even though I'm not a really big fan of the aesthetics of the packaging itself, I think the cigarettes don't really live up to the packaging, frankly put. They don't. Not that I really expected these to be the most amazing cigarettes in the world. I'm not really the biggest fan of Newports, to say the least. But, yeah. The look of the cigarette is okay. The inside of the packaging is okay. But the main negative thing about the cigarette to me really is the taste. It comes off like it's trying to be a menthol cigarette so hard, but it's not. And I mean, like, that is very much what it is. It's literally a non-menthol Newport that still has a cooling agent in it. It is literally trying to be a non-menthol menthol cigarette. That's what it's trying to be. I'm not a fan, though. I'm not a fan, I will admit. Yeah. Not a super big fan. I'm just having trouble kind of summarizing. It's been one of those days kind of thing where I'm just kind of struggling to kind of summarize everything in the way I want to, kind of not at a loss for words per se, but it's just, I'm struggling to organize things in my head. It's been one of those days. The packaging is okay. The inside of the packaging is okay. The look of the cigarettes is okay. But the cigarette as a whole, it very much has a cool, velvety, smooth mouthfeel and then there's a taste of additive and then sort of icky chemical taste, and then there's the undertone of the sort of slightly sweet, slightly salty, buttery taste as well kind of thing, which very much leads into the mouthfeel as well kind of thing. And then the body is pretty big. The body is massive. It is very much a full-flavored king-size cigarette. I'm not too surprised that the body is so big. And I'd have to say the airflow is perfectly fine. The draw is a little bit heavier than not, I'd have to say, but not as heavy as, like, let's say, an American Spirit. Roughness and smoothness wise, the cooling agent definitely does its job. It smooths it out to about a 6 out of 10, while on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the smoothest and 10 being the smoothest. For context, a full flavored cigarette is generally like a 7 out of 10, so definitely a little bit smoother. These could be even considered maybe a 5 out of 10. They're pretty smooth for the strength they are, because these have I'd have to say about a 7 out of 10 strength wise, I'd have to say. Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. This very much is trying to come off like it's a menthol cigarette, but it's not. That's how this cigarette is trying to come off, and trying to think of this as a non-menthol cigarette in a classic term, like just a normal non-menthol cigarette, like a real non-menthol cigarette, like a Newport Red, is not really the right way to go about thinking this. The best way to think about this cigarette is as a menthol cigarette with no menthol in it, which is exactly what it is, of course. But my thought process going into this was completely wrong. I shouldn't have been thinking about it like it was a normal non-menthol cigarette. I should have been thinking about it like it's a menthol with no menthol. And that's very much how it comes off. The normal tastes that, the normal low-quality tastes that a menthol taste might do a really good job of covering up are very prevalent. It's not great, I'll be frank. The strength is nice. I like the strength. The feeling it gives is pretty nice. The mouthfeel is not bad. I don't mind the WS-3. But the taste as a whole is really a letdown kind of thing, and it's not a super good smoke in my personal opinion. I'm not a fan. I'd have to say, as a whole, the rating I'm going to give the Newport EXP Max non-menthol cigarettes is going to be I'm thinking 5 out of 10. I'm thinking a 5 out of 10, yeah. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. No, I don't really like it kind of thing. That icky chemical taste really has sent it over the edge for me. And I'm really not a fan of it as a whole. The main taste is an additive taste, not tobacco. And I get it. It's not supposed to be a full-flavored cigarette. It's not supposed to be an actual tobacco cigarette. It's supposed to be a menthol without menthol. That's what it's supposed to be. I don't like that. I don't, frankly put. And so it's getting a 5 out of 10. Yeah. This is one of the worst Newports I've tried as of yet. I'll be frank. I don't think I really have anything else to say. This has been a very educational experience for me. This has been a very different experience for me, I ain't gonna lie on. I have really struggled to summarize my thoughts on this cigarette, to say the least. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. But I'm glad I tried it, that is for sure. I'm glad I tried it. Because this has been, well, a very educational experience, and I have started learning something new about cigarettes and tobacco as a whole. Well, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of the Newport EXP Max non-menthol cigarettes. Do you guys think they come off more like an actual tobacco cigarette or just like a menthol cigarette without menthol? I think that's how they very much come off to me, and I'll be frank, I'm not a fan. Let me know in the comments down below, though, what y'all think of them. Do you guys like them? Do you guys not? Let me know in the comments down below. And, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. Box, and my second channel all in the description down below. Go check it all out. Of course, I wouldn't really want to buy these again. In fact, I have no intention of ever buying these again. I think it's going to take quite a while for me to smoke my way through this pack. I don't want to waste this pack, but it's going to take a while for me to smoke my way through it. I'm thinking more than likely, but yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. To the next one, stay safe and peace and have a great one. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying?